on to our next repair. So this would be one more L1800, which is used for DTF print. So as you can see, there's already some adjustment done to it. We've got a waste ink pipe over here, which is we usually place the exit on the back over here somewhere. This is a bit more different, so if it's a bit more different approach, but it's also good. I think that it's pulled through this side panel over here. There's a hole over here. I don't know if it's original hole, but it's also, if that's more easier for you to do, it's also good because the printer is lifted a bit up from the ground level, let's say, and so it has some space beneath this tanks of the ciss, so this is also good. I don't know what this is, probably something that is it's some kind of pincher which is pinching the tube to prevent ink from dripping out of it all over the place. And one thing that the owner of this printer didn't do really well is something is wrong with the printer, so he emptied the tanks over here. There's no one drop of ink inside, and this is not what you should be doing. You should be having at least 1 centimeter over here, or half an inch of ink in this tanks over here, because if you leave it dry, then also the hole on the exit of the tank is drying, so might get clogged, or the tubes that are coming out of the tank might get clogged, so that is not very desirable. It's only gonna cost you problems later when the printer I'm guessing it's probably been standing idle for a while, so we should be checking also this thing if it's if it has some flow through the tubes, or did they clog with time. So that's one more thing that we're gonna have to check, and we could have gone without it if there was any ink left in the tanks, but I just tried to started to see what's wrong with it, because the owner didn't really know what to say what's wrong with it. I'm guessing something with the pump maybe head or something like that. All right. Or maybe even, which is not really a common case, but seems that something is blown with the power supply, because the printer is not powering on at all. It's completely dead. So I don't know if he blown a fuse on the power supply or something else, but the first thing we're gonna have to check is what's the state of the power supply, and maybe put in a new one just to see if all else is okay, because we do need to check the dampers, and we do need to check the head. So we could move the head manually to the left to check that, but still if the head is okay, we're still gonna have to turn on the head clean to make ink flow a bit through the head, because it's probably been standing for a while now. So maybe first thing we're gonna have to deal with is just checking the power supply and put in a spare one, so we can deal with check other things also. The easiest way to get to the power supply is just to remove this cover on the back. we don't really need to remove the main cover over here, so we can just get to the power supply and the motherboard box over here from behind, which is good. It will take a lot less time than to disassemble everything. So this is the power supply and the motherboard box. So it can be pulled out like a drawer over here. If you unscrew these screws on top, you got 4 of them over here and 1 here on the right. But first, of course, you need to disconnect the cables that are connected to the motherboard over here, which are also reachable from the outside. You don't need to move the main cover, or if you do want to move the main cover to have some more space for connecting and disconnecting, you can do that as well, but this is a bit less job, so maybe sometimes it's not that easy to unplug because there's a very little space for fingers. I think we got it. All right, and we will have to unscrew the previous mentioned screws over here. One is on the side. That is kind of connecting the heatsink with the aluminum casing, and other 4 are here on top. Okay, so the screws are falling off. And the last one, so let's see if we're gonna be able to pull it out. Doesn't seem so. Oh yeah, the thing I forgot, we got 2 more screws holding the bottom part of the casing from the side. So you have a hole over here on the right in the plastic, and if you see through, you will see the screw that is going over here. And the same thing is on the left side. The one on the left side is a bit more visible over here, but you have to get that one out as well. Okay. I think we can pull it out now. All right. So the thing that got blown is somewhere over here. I'm looking for a fuse, but I don't really see it over here. So the next thing we might be able to repair this power supply, but the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put in the other power supply also from one L1800 that is kinda in parts. It has a blown motherboard, but the power supply is still good, so we can just put it into this one just to get it running, to see if all other stuff is okay. But this is the thing that is not working for the time being. I can't really tell from the first look at it what could be wrong, but that's not important right now. We should be getting other one. So this is the power supply from another one with the blown motherboard. So we'll see if that's gonna make any difference. If we're gonna be able to breathe in a bit of a life in this one. So let's see what's gonna happen. We will make repairs on the other one, but usually we don't do it just for one board. We do it for like a couple of them, 5 to 10 let's say. But we need this one to be running to see if that's the only problem that it has. Probably, I'm guessing not, because these printers, especially when they work with some other ink like DTF, DTF and so on, they don't like to be idle for a long time. They need to work. So I'm guessing there's gonna be some more problems with, maybe with the head, maybe with the pump. We're gonna have to see what's the condition of the dampers. Are they clogged? Are the filters inside covered with sediment? Stuff like that. All that needs to be checked if you want to do the proper job. I'm missing one cable over here. He slipped somewhere below, I think. Can't see it over here. Where is it? The black cable for the motor. Oh yeah, it's over here. Okay. Okay, so just before you slide it in all the way, you have to connect all these cables from the outside. Alright, I got 2 of them, 3 more to go. black one that we've lost the first time. Okay, got it in. That's good. The red one, which is for the lifting mechanism. Right, now the flat cables are the ones that are still disconnected. I'm gonna remove this to make it a bit more accessible. Okay. Cramped space, so it's not that easy to put everything back together. Okay, we are connected. Let's push it back in the position. Okay, I'm not gonna screw back the screws because we might still have to pull it out for some reasons. Let's see if it's gonna start. Not really. So what that means, maybe I forgot. It's either something on the motherboard is blown too, or maybe I forgot to connect the cable that went from the power supply to the motherboard, so I'm gonna have to check that from outside. Since nothing is still working, we will have to check the output of the power supply if we have some voltage on the output. And let's see, yeah, 42 volts, that's okay. And the other side, let's check the other side. Yeah, so we do have another 40.8 volts, so that's okay. It's not a problem with the power supply, it's a problem somewhere with the motherboard, so we're gonna have to do some checks and repairs on the motherboard itself. Okay, so we got both of the motherboards fixed. This is the one that we've tried to pull out the power supply, so we ended up with figuring out that both of the motherboards are burned on both of this one and also this one that we are trying to fix. So we've fixed both of motherboards, put them back, and as you can see, we didn't put any screws back over here because we wanna check the situation now if it's gonna be working. This didn't quite sit in the place. Okay, so let's start with we need to get one power cable over here for the power supply, and we're gonna check to see if we've done a proper job with repairing the motherboards. So let's see first this one that was already in parts, is it gonna be working? Alright, so this seems to be okay. So that one is okay. So this is our printer for parts. That one is working fine, but the one that we are really interested in is this one that we've got for okay, so let's see what's gonna happen now, if something is gonna happen at all. Well, what do you know, it's working. So far so good. Okay, it's working now. So now that we've breathed some life into it, we're gonna need to check what's the state of the dampers and head, and we already know that the ciss is empty for some reason. I don't know if the owner didn't want the ink to spill, which is really not the case with this model. So you can transport it with ink also, because you have also a valve here on the side that you can close, but it's really not that it's a low possibility that you can spill some ink, so we're gonna have to put some ink also in order to do the test. But first, let's see, we need to get the head outside the bay. So how do we do that? On the start, when the head comes out a bit, we unplug the power cable, because that's the moment when the brake on the pump is releasing the head. So now I can move it with hand, turn it around. Alright, it's gonna be easier this way around. Let's see if the dampers have some ink inside first. But I do think that we're gonna have to check the state of the head also, because I don't really think that oh yeah, so this is like, I don't know, maybe 10% filled, so that's not really what we want. Also, probably all the others are the same. And how did that happen? That happened because the automatic filling, I'm guessing that the owner filled it only with automatic filling, not with manual, with syringe. So sometimes this happens. This one is filled a bit more than the others, but still not enough, not even half. This is very little, like maybe even less than 10%, just this small box over here. So we're gonna have to fix that, but let's see. We want to get to the head first, because it's not gonna pump anything if the head is clogged. So we're gonna move that here on the left, and I'm gonna need a shorter screwdriver to lift this cable cover up. And one thing that we do on these things is that you have this hook that is pulling also the cables up when you are trying to remove it for head replacement or something like that, so it's only in the way. So best thing to do is to tear it off. So now when you will be pulling up this cover, it won't be stuck into the cables. Okay, so now this is the, on 1400, this would be the carrier for the contacts or contact board. Here it's only serving the purpose of holding the dampers inside, but the principle of getting it out is the same. And I already think that this head has been pulled out sometimes before, because the right screw was not really tight and it was kind of loose. Let's see if the cable's okay. Cable is fine. That's how the cable should look, and this sponge here is dry, so probably he didn't clean it inside the printer. Let's see what's the state of the head. So we're gonna need a bit of alcohol. We have it over here, and we're gonna, let me just take this smaller bottle. We're gonna need a syringe, and maybe maybe it would be good to clean these tops of the torn over here for the white, because if there's any bigger particles of ink hardened over here on the top, we want to remove it. We're gonna use a paper towel and rubbing alcohol or medical alcohol, however you want to call it, because we don't want to push the residue here on the top through the head or through the manifold, because that could make the head print even worse. So we do want to remove all that as much as possible before the cleaning. So the ones for the CMYK are not so problematic, but the whites have this residue on top. So what you need to do, you have like 4 holes on the top over here that are kind of going into X, so you need to clear those holes and then try to push the alcohol through. Alright, so we're gonna clean it a bit more from below, although I don't see any residue over here or ink buildup, or however you want to call it, over here, which is usually the case. So I'm guessing that it's not printed much with this printer. So let's see what is the state of the head, current state of the head. Let's see how this is gonna work. So maybe the best approach would be to take just a little rubbing alcohol and try to pull out if something's gonna go, but as you can see, not much is going out, so I'm guessing that the white is pretty much done. Let's see the other one. Very little ink. Yeah. As you can see, white is just a couple of nozzles are firing, so this is not good. And this one's a bit better, but I don't know if you can see it, but there's a big crack in the middle. So as for the white, this is not gonna work. Let's see, maybe the cyan is still usable, although for this purpose, nope, even the cyan is blown. So if we have at least one of the inks missing for cyan, one of 4 inks, then the whole head is pretty much done. So yeah, this printer will need a new head. It's not gonna work with this one. So we know that the head will not be used, but one more thing we can do is pull out the air out of the dampers, although I doubt that too, because maybe the best thing to do is to pour some ink inside first, because if we pull the air now, we will be pulling the ink from the tubes, and there's no ink inside the tanks that will fill up the space that we inside the tube. So we're gonna probably end up with air inside the tubes over here, and then we're gonna pour in the ink. So that might be a problem. Then when the air comes to the damper over here, also the level of the ink will decrease for I don't know, let's say half or even more, depending on how much air is in the tubes or the pipes. So the best thing to do is to first pour in some ink, and then pull the air out of the damper and also out of the tubes if there's any now at this moment. Now that we've removed the main cover, on the top we've put these tubes and damper out of the way for the head to do the initialization. So you see now nothing is in the way. We're gonna have to start it up. Of course, we will need this keyboard plugged in also. We're gonna need a power supply. Okay, so now what we are wishing for is that the head or the printer does the initialization and parks the head back in its start position. That would be the best thing. We just don't want it to go to the automatic head clean, so just in case I'll be over here on the plug-in cable to plug it out if it goes to head clean. Okay, we don't want that. Alright, so we managed to figure something out. Because we can stop head cleaning from starting after we replace the head. We didn't want white ink to go inside the head, but we want ordinary ink to stay inside the head. We've put these two other dampers filled with light cyan and light magenta ink, and we're gonna fill these other dampers with DTF ink without filling the tubes as the owner wanted. But how do we do that? We have to fill only the dampers, and it's kind of tricky filling just the dampers without the ciss system and the tubes, because you do need to fill the damper from this side, from this connector over here. And in order to do so, you cannot only put the syringe over here and push the ink inside, but you have to have a tube over here which is drawn into ink, and you have to pull it with syringe from below. Small piece of tube over here which you're gonna put in the ink, and you need to push this spring inside and pull the ink up. So that's the way how you do it. Also, you cannot really, you could maybe push the ink with the syringe from this side, but then if you push this how do you say this membrane of the damper to the other side like this, then it's very possible that the damper will try to push the ink the other way around, not through the head but out of the head, and you surely don't want that to be happening. So this is the proper way to fill the damper if you want to fill only the damper. So I'm not sure, the ink level is here a bit lower, but I'm gonna need a help of my colleague over here. So now I think that the tube is inside the ink. Let's see if it's gonna be filling. All right, it's filling. Let me just turn it up a bit. Okay, we got it filled. So now it's gonna be working properly, and it's fully filled. And when the printer starts the head clean, it's gonna fill only the CMYK ink through, pull through the head, and the ordinary paper ink from these two dampers, and that's gonna be conserving the head until the owner decides to start working with the printer again. So maybe we got some ink already pumping over here. I can see through the tubes, but it's kind of a long tube, so if something gets out, it's gonna be coming over here. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I can feel that. Oh. tube was pinched over here with this, I don't know what this is, something to close up the tube. So there was a pressure build up inside the tube, but now we're pretty much good, because now the head's gonna be parked back in its starting position. All right, so we need to wait for 2 minutes after head clean is done until the green light stabilizes. So that's the one difference between 1400 and 1800. On the older model 1400, you don't really have to wait 2 minutes after head clean. It's pretty much ready right away, in the ready position for print right away. And here, for some reason, you do have to wait for 2 minutes. All right, so, but now you see the printer is pretty much okay, the electronics is pretty much okay, because first time that we got it, the printer was completely dead, you couldn't do anything with it. And now all of that is pretty much fixed. As you can see, the pump does have a pressure, because you can see when the pressure build up here, it popped some ink over here. So for sure that's, the pump is okay for sure. And one more thing that we will need to do is to fill up this original cartridges with the white ink. They are in pretty good condition. We just need to fill them the same way that we did the other 4 or 6 in this case, and that's gonna keep the middle 2 channels moisturized as well. All right. Okay, so that's the only thing we still have to do, and we're gonna put the main cover on top. We could have tried the test print, but let's just deal with this first. But I'm pretty sure that everything's gonna be fine, because this is almost 100% good head, even though it's used one, but it's still almost, let's say, 99% good head. Okay, so we've filled the other 2 white dampers inside the same way that we did with the others, and we just put it on the head. So now if the printer is gonna be idle for sometimes, I don't know, maybe a couple of months, maybe even a year, the white ink is not going to be inside the head. So when the owner decides to use it again, he will just plug in the printer and power it on. As you can see, we did repair that too, but we decided not to do any test prints, because it still might, the printer still might go to automatic head clean, and which will then pull the white ink inside. And since we know that it's going to be idle for some time, we don't want white head white ink inside the head. We just want it inside the dumper, and that's what we did. So now the printer is ready for printing, but we're not going to do any more tests. It's going to be on the owner when he decides to start printing.